Hey, Desiree here with Soul Path Astrology and this week's Oracle card readings. Welcome to video number 2 and the much lauded Pluto in Aquarius transition. So, we'll talk about that for a minute and then I'll dive into the details of card 2 here. So, Pluto in Aquarius has there's a lot to be excited about in many respects. This is a shift out of hell in many respects, and into something that's going to feel a lot more expansive, a lot more loving, a lot more community minded, a lot more global, maybe even galactic. If you know, you know. So what's interesting, though, is this week's reading, all three cards have a sense of struggle about them. And I want to talk about the struggle of Pluto. This is Lord of the Underworld, and he's coming out of Capricorn, like he's coming out of these dark, rigid times. But it's always darkest before the dawn. And this isn't about just, oh, well, we've been waiting for some planet to move and now suddenly it's going to be all love and light and we're all going to transcend into happiness. Like, no, there's a degree of work involved in this. It requires our participation, right? So what does that mean? What does it mean to participate in building this new world? Yes, maybe energetically, we have the weather, if you will, the energy to support this global movement, to support this unity consciousness, but it still requires us to learn how to do that in actuality with each other. So, card number 2, we have the Seven of Wands. This is the boundaries card. This is about being challenged. It can sometimes be, it comes on the heels of the Six of Wands, which is sort of celebrating your accomplishments. And then the Seven of Wands comes on the heels of that, where there might be people that are trying to take you down, where there's like the haters or, like there's a wolf tree story where it's the one that sticks out and then it's sort of like harming the other trees around it. Like you don't really want to have your head sticking up because you're the one that's going to get tomatoes thrown. This card is like acknowledging the fact that you are actually perhaps feeling a little bit beaten up, feeling a little bit like you're having to defend your position. And maybe there's part of you that's sort of low key wishing you hadn't stood up, that's wishing that you hadn't really vocalized what was most on your heart. But the thing is, in order to move into that unity consciousness, we have to learn to do this. We all have to learn how to speak our truth from our heart with compassion, with love, with tact. I mean, this isn't about being a douchebag. It drives me nuts when people are just flat out rude and mean and like, well, that's my truth. Like, that's not what we're talking about here. But this is really grounding yourself in what you stand for. It's really grounding yourself for advocating for what feels most true and most in alignment with your soul, with your heart, with your gut, right? And so allowing that there might be some conflict, there might be some pushback as you rise into this higher version of yourself, as you start to speak and advocate for your heart. You know, it's okay. It's okay if you're getting a little tomatoes thrown at you, or, now that you've stepped into more of a position of, I was going to say notoriety, but where you're being seen. You're being seen more, you're being heard more, maybe you've elevated into more of a leadership position, and there's a consequential pushback. And this is so good, actually. I know we're conditioned to be like, oh shit, I don't want pushback. The pushback helps you if you can do it in a healthy way to even further ground, to deepen yourself in your truth. Because what we need to move forward into this more beautiful world our hearts know is possible, to quote Charles Eisenstein, is all of us, a biodiversity of the reality of who we individually are. And then how does that work to come together? It requires boundaries. We need to know the edge points of where I am and where you are, where my beliefs are and where yours are, not so that we can make one another wrong or right, but rather so we can sort of work out and shift and move around to sort out sort of a natural organizing factor as to where each of us fits, how we can serve the collective whole. So if this was your card, it's like this. It's okay if you're feeling a little bit beat up right now, or you're feeling like you're having to defend your position. If you are feeling that way, I want to invite you to step into your own space and just calm, because our nervous system can get pretty jacked when we're feeling attacked, right? So if you can just retreat for a moment and calm yourself, recenter, and then approach the situation so you can speak from a centered place. So you can speak from your heart in a measured, loving way, not to back down necessarily or to give up your position, but not to move and create war and make the other one wrong either. Often there's a space in between where you can find unity, you can find cohesion, you can find a place where everyone can find their needs to be met. So yeah, if this is something that's coming up for you, if you want to explore it a little deeper, if you just want to deep dive into your own astros, I would love to be of assistance. You can find a link to my calendar in the comments and in the description of the card below. And if you haven't yet, please subscribe to the channel. If you find value in these, share them with your friends, like them, love them, do all the things. And of course, I love getting your comments too. So yeah, I hope that landed. Have a super week, you guys, and we'll see you soon. Bye for now.